What do you feel isn't allowing Africa to grow? This is a huge question, right?
No, I just said I don't know a lot. Why are you asking me? I'm the guy that doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
And you're asking me what I think is not allowing Africa to grow. I guess that's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
That is why I am doing this podcast, in order to try to find solutions. I think it was Einstein that said that if he had 1 hour to save the world, he would spend 59 minutes defining the problem and 1 minute trying to solve the problem. Defining the problem is a big part of looking at potential solutions for the issues that multiple nations are going through on that continent. Why we're going through what we're going through is the fact that around 400 years ago, Europeans came and colonized, raped, pillaged, took a whole lot of stuff. They forced people together, created nations that really has a lot of internal strife in them, and then they set up like export economies so that they could export more stuff, because they saw those African nations as colonies. So they created them as export economies in order to export goods to them. And when they left, all those structures all those institutional political structures that they put in place was what was still remaining when they left. It's funny because I was having this conversation with my brother yesterday in the car. And he was saying the exact same thing. He was like, yeah, we get it. The white people came, they raped us, they pillaged, they set up a crazy system. But so what? Are we just going to stay there and remain in this messed up situation where everybody's looking down on us? And I guess that's how I'm feeling too. I'm like, I don't want us to just stay here and be like, yes, because this has happened to us. I want us to find a way within ourselves to propagate and get better and improve. Gangsters move in silence. We have to be quiet with what we're doing, because obviously, as you're trying to propagate, no one from the oppressed ever got their freedom by appealing to the moral sense of their oppressors, by trying to appeal to those in the West to really help us elevate. It can help, but it can only get so far. If we truly want to revolutionize things, we have to help ourselves, but we can't be too loud about it as well.
That's why we're on a live right now.
That's why we're on a live.
I'm kidding.
It's a very quiet live.
True.
This is like a soft launch. Not many people know about it. It's all good.
It just made me think while you were talking, there's been a lot of knowledge and literature on the history. Like you said, we know what happened. What's next? And you want to be part of that. What's next? What can we do? What inspired you to want to create these conversations, and why now specifically?
Well, what inspired me to want to create these conversations? Vonu Spirit was the whole point of me doing this entire educational media channel was to try to find my own way of contributing to some sort of development or progress that we could have. And I've always been interested in trying to figure out solutions, showing people an alternative reality and creating a mindset shift so that we can collectively make change. We all have to collectively act in order to see positive change on the ground, whether that's on the continent of Africa or in the diaspora. But in order to make that change, there needs to be some sort of mindset shift that we stop prioritizing these things. The world is sick. Nothing is showing that as clearly as what is happening now with Palestine, and the fact that we are watching the live destruction and genocide happening, and we aren't allowed to fight it. If you wear a shirt saying "Free Gaza," they ban you from going to the O2, or it's just the frustration, the helplessness of what's happening in Palestine right now. And when you're at the bottom of the pyramid, like Black people are and Black Africans are, you are extremely aware of injustice. Your sense of justice is very heightened. You know what it's like. When you see it happening to someone else, it offends your sense of injustice. For me, I'm thinking, oh man, we're at the bottom. This thing is happening to the Palestinians, but it could easily happen to us. It's only a matter of time before, if what is happening to the Palestinians was needed to be done to some African nation, it would be done just like that. And nobody can stop it. We would need to be preemptive, proactive, and it's only, so that we can defend ourselves, hopefully.
I feel like the global majority in general, we connect to Palestine and the struggles for the freedom of Palestine because our countries were colonized. And usually it's the colonizers that identify with what is now called Israel, occupied Palestine. I guess my main point was that it's one of the countries that reminds us, like you said. We also have the Rwanda genocide.
We also have
in
Congo.
history. We have what's happening in Congo right now.
We have Sudan.
And Sudan. So while we all connect to Palestine,
I think the reason
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason why the Palestine thing
it represents
triggered. I think the reason why the Palestine thing triggered so much is because I'm just like, it's so, all the things I read about in the history books about how they were colonizing African nations and African lands, they're doing it right now in front of me, and I'm like, wow. It's frustrating and it's annoying because they said that was back then, that was their ancestors, they're much better now, but it's still happening.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
The same so
colonization has not ended whatsoever, and whoever says so is probably on the side of the oppressed. And actually,
what, you mean the side of the oppressor?
Oppressor, sorry. Thank you, Hameed.
That's fine, you're welcome.
Colonization hasn't ended. That was my main point.
Okay.
But also, even if we think about, and I'm sure you'll go into this with other experts who talk about the history of Africa and what's happening right now, that it hasn't ended there too, right? There's systems in place that perpetuate the institutions, for the
and
colonization.
I'm just going to take Nigeria as an example, but the fact that a small few people as leaders can ring fence a particular resource and benefit from it alone and exclude the country from benefiting from that resource shows that is reminiscent of when the Europeans basically had put in elites to run things on their behalf and be like, as long as you're good, elites, as long as you're good, you can measure people over, you just enjoy the good life and give us all the goods and resources that you have. I feel like that is what's happening today. Still, we're seeing that today in the way African leaders behave.